Thank you so much for inviting me. My name is Savita. My organization is called Medicine Without Cruelty. I started 3 years ago. So I used to be a scientist. I worked in the NHS in a laboratory diagnosing human genetic diseases. So people who are at risk of a rare or inherited disease. I would do the diagnosis. I would look right into a patient's DNA, the basic building blocks that make all life, and identify what is the error causing the symptoms of their disease. And I'd send that to the doctor, and the doctor would, either prescribe management of the condition because there's no treatment, or maybe there is some sort of novel research. I wanted to do a PhD, and I moved over to the other side, and I wanted to look into gene therapies. I mean, these patients, there's 1 in 2,000 that have this disease, and I wanted to know, how can we treat them? I was horrified and dismayed to think that we are still animal testing that in this country after years of the exponential increase. I mean, someone did a bibliometric analysis. They looked at all the journals over the last 20 years, and actually non-animal methods has had an exponential rise. We have so many different animal-free techniques at our disposal that are effective and are advanced. We never, and you know what, the more I research, the more I see that we never needed animals in the first place. It does not work, and it's actually caused devastating consequences, not only to the dogs, the animals that have been involved, the horrors that they are still seeing, but also the devastating effects to the humans as well. Some of these drugs that have come out in, the most recent one in 2006 was TGN 1412. It was an autoimmune drug. It was a drug designed for people to test the immune system, right? It passed successfully. It was safe according to animals, right? It then moved into humans. 6 healthy human volunteers were rushed to the hospital for multiple organ failure, devastating effects, and they had to go straight to the hospital within hours. There are so many cases throughout history. I've written it on my website. There's so much. Even thalidomide. Everyone talks about thalidomide. Oh, that's why we needed animal testing. No. Once they identified, okay, this drug is causing birth defects, they went and they checked multiple species. It was tested safe in so many different species. They had to keep testing until they found the right animal. And that doesn't even make sense. It's so flawed. They don't even know which animal is going to produce the outcome that humans have. You can only test a system from, a human relevant test needs to happen. You can only use science that is built from the human to identify what is going to cause the illness in the human. And so I go around advocating for non-animal methods. I design education, and it's for all school, from schools. It's from an early age. We need to start from that core feeling that all of us have today, that we have to live peacefully with the animals of this earth. We coexist together, and it's understanding that all the way to secondary schools to start understanding the science and the techniques. I mean, we have the ability of artificial intelligence. We need to start teaching our students how that's applied in science, all the way to universities where they have to actually apply these techniques and save lives. We need treatments that work and are effective. And so that's Medicine Without Cruelty. I have online courses. It's called the Sun Project. It's called Stop and Use Non-Animal Methods. And yeah, we've got over 200 learners globally who, because there isn't much out there, so there are people who are, they're happy to access these courses. A little bit about what's happening here in the UK. I think that's quite important, as we've got a debate coming up on Monday. Now, in last year, towards the end of last year, the UK produced a replacement, so that was the replacement strategy to phase out the use of animals in science. I'm sorry to say that it doesn't go anywhere near enough to protect the animals, and that's what we're here to do. We need to protect these animals. There is no legally binding deadlines in that strategy. Some of the tests that they are saying will phase out, we'll talk about phasing out end of this year and we'll phase out next year. Some of them they've been removed from European law. we've removed, for example, the rabbit, one of the tests, rabbit pyrogen testing, is already being removed from medical texts in Europe. Why are we waiting so long? What's the delay? Why is it that major plans don't start? They're going to be discussed this year. They're not even going to start until next year. And if there's no legally binding deadlines, there's nothing to prevent delay. As you know, in 2023, there was 2.68 million animal procedures that were done. In 2024, it was something like it went down by 1%. That's not meaningful change. That's just statistical noise. It's still about 3 million. Every delay means millions of animals are going to suffer. And in the last week, I don't know if you've seen, it's really, I was saying, well, it's a really hard one to watch, but you know, a very brave laboratory worker has blown the whistle and has exposed what actually happens to animals within laboratories. You can have a read about it. It's toxicity.inc. And it's harrowing, the images of what these animals go through, and it does not work. You know, this is what they're showing. It was on dogs, pigs, monkeys, and some of these monkeys were tested on the fat jabs, you know, the weight loss jabs. Those are all the rage, Ozempic, Wegovy. That could have been done animal free. We have a range, and I mentioned earlier, a suite of different tools. So for example, organ on a chip, so it's about the size of a USB stick in the palm of your hand, and we use human cells, and it recreates the environment of say for example, it shows the beating heart. We can have a heart on a chip, we can have a lung on a chip, we can have a kidney on a chip, and you can test the drugs going through it and seeing how it works. For something like Ozempic, we can have multiple organs and we can see how that drug's working. We live in the age of AI. We can predict the toxicity accurately, the safety of a drug accurately and effectively before it even goes into a human clinical trial. We also have cell-based assays. Now, I don't know if some of you have seen that, cosmetic testing, there is animal-free alternatives. That's why they're cruelty-free, certified. There are different programs. Some of them, for example, here in the UK, we've got Accelerate. They use a cell, human cells. And that is validated. That is approved by international guidelines. You don't need a whole system. You might just only need cells, and that gives you effective science. So never underestimate, the humble human cell. And yeah, that's why I'm here today, and that's why I do what I do. Just go around telling everyone why animal testing is wrong, why all the alternatives are there. I've put, my, Medicine Without Cruelty's national roadmap, and it's really simple. 1, legally binding deadlines to end animal testing, end breeding, because these animals are being bred at a mass scale. And if you cut it off, if you end breeding, you are cutting off that pipeline from the very beginning. Unfortunately, the Public Order Act came in very recently. It was a new, statutory instrument, a new kind of addendum to the Public Order Act, which means that you cannot protest in front of animal testing facilities. But what they've done is they've made animal testing facilities key national infrastructure, just like airports, just like railways. You can't, if you put something at the level of national security, you are not phasing it out. You're writing it into its future. Like I mentioned, every delay is thousands of animals, and that's why we should all be raising our voice. We should all be here to protect the animals. So all of that's happened. I know that it's undergoing judicial review. There are organisations that are fighting this, so we will see what happens. As you know, with the law, it takes months. We have a debate on Monday to debate end the use.
Who's debating?
So this is in Parliament. So it was Camp Beagle, so that's an organisation protesting MBR acres, and they have we've reached 100,000 signatures on this petition, and that's why it is getting debated on Monday. So we'll see what happens on that day, but this is the 4th debate that has been brought to Parliament to end animal testing. We won't stop. We can't stop. Just like the sufferings of the brown dog generated so much protest. We have to keep going. We have to keep educating people on the alternatives. And I just think policy and education needs to go hand in hand. and that's what I do, campaign for change and educate all of our students at the same time. So yeah, thank you so much.